Hey Team 6, so this week we will be setting you an assignment to write your own story based around what we did with Vashti Hardy. So you'll end up drawing your own little map and drawing your own story, writing your own story. So to go with that, obviously you need a bit of speech in there. Now speech is quite easy, but it's the tricky rules that go with it as well that we're going to try and look at today. All right, it's going to be nice and quick. I'm going to try and keep it nice and simple for you. So if I start, we're going to have two characters for this. I'm going to use one of the pictures I used in my trailer this week. We're going to have a conversation between Zero and Stanley. I've got to remember the main thing that we remember when it comes to a conversation and a story, make it really easy for the reader to understand who's saying what, is new speaker, new line. Okay, but there's a few rules that go with that as well. A lot of you were getting really good with this, especially when we were reading as a class and we had the different characters around the room. Quite a lot of you realised, oh wait, it's not me now speaking, it's such and such because it's on a new line. Exactly the same thing when it comes to writing your own story as well. You've just got to tell the reader, you've got to just sort of show the reader how easy it is to understand who's saying what. So I'm going to start this story off. I'm going to have, we're going to go with Zero first. So I might move that up a bit so you can still see it. I've got a bit of room. So I'm going to start off, nice capital letter, beginning of a sentence. Zero crept towards Stanley, capital S for Stanley. If you were still missing those capital letters for names. And that's it. I'll keep it nice, simple sentence. Zero crept towards Stanley, and then I'm going to have him speaking. So I'm going to have my inverted commas pointing towards the words that are going to be said. Capital letter to start with. Remember, it's his start of his sentence as well. He says, I know how to escape. So, I know how to escape. At least spell things right, Mr. Barker. Escape. Don't even know what that means. Escape. I know how to escape. We'll leave it at that. So, a comma. Because I've not finished my sentence yet, I just need the noun. So he, I don't need to say Zero again, I can just use a pronoun because Zero is already up here. He whispered, he's not going to shout it. Mr. Sir's probably nearby. He whispered. And then full stop. Might give him a bit more of an action as well. He checked over his shoulder. He checked over his shoulder. There we go. Then, if I wanted to carry on with Zero and he could carry on speaking, or he could do some more action, if I wanted him to get some more action in there, I'd carry on writing in this paragraph. But now I want Stanley to say something. Okay, so I'll change colour, just make it easy to see. Stanley, let's say he's looked up from his digging. Stanley, capital S, Stanley looked up from his digging. And again, be a full stop there. I'm going to start then him speaking straight away. Or, actually no, we won't, because we said he whispered at the start, didn't we? So we had speech, we had the yellow, green and orange. So I'm going to have it, so we have the green bit first. So, actually no, I'm not. I'm going to change my mind. Because we've got Stanley looked up from his digging, I don't need to say that he's said anything, because we know it's Stanley at this point. So I could just say, what? Question mark. How? Question mark. And because I've done new speaker, new line, and I've already used his name, I don't need to then say he said or he replied or whatever there. I'm okay to leave it as it is. It keeps the flow going as well in the story, so I'm not always having to say he said this person and such. So now I just want maybe I make his eyes flicker as well. Maybe his eyes flick towards his eyes flicked towards Mr. Sir. I don't then have to say anything about him checking to see if he's listening, because that's inferred, isn't it? His eyes are flicking, he's crept up towards him, he's now whispering, and then don't need to say checking to see if he's listening. We know that, we can infer that. I don't even know why I put any speech marks in there. Nobody's speaking. The speech ended there. His eyes flick towards Mr. Sir. Next one then. I'm going to start straight away. Follow me. Okay, so inverted commas again, capital letter. Follow me, comma. This time what I'm going to do, I could have him carry on, follow me this way, I could say, but I'm going to say follow me, comma, inverted commas again, and then I'm going to say zero muttered, cautiously. No, yeah, zero cautiously muttered. Okay, we'll have it that way around. Cautiously muttered. But he's going to then carry on with speech. Okay, so I'm then going to have comma, and I'm going to have speech marks again. Now you don't need to start a new line. I've just run out of space. I could just carry on if I had enough space. Follow me this way. Okay. Now, what that shows me is that follow me in this way is the same sentence, because I put a comma there and I've started with a lowercase letter, and I am allowed to do that because I've not used a full stop yet. Okay, if I wanted to, I could put a full stop there, follow me zero cautiously muttered, and then I could then start with a capital letter here if I wanted to, this way, and that shows me that follow me and this way are two separate sentences that zero said. Okay, so we'll leave it like that for now because I've just changed it. I'm not going to change it back again. That's exclamation mark actually. Ooh, now he shouted it, this way! And then I'm going to start then with Stanley. Let's say he didn't speak straight away. Let's say Stanley, maybe he sees Mr. Sir, or Stanley saw Mr. Sir's head. Mr. Sir's head. Explain why I've used an apostrophe there. Link back to last week's learning. Stanley saw Mr. Sir's head spin in their direction. In their direction. And also, why have I spelt there like that and not T-H-E-R-E? Stanley saw Mr. Sir's head spin in their direction. Okay, inverted commas because now he's speaking. Quick. Run. Okay, so I can clearly now see a new line for a new action, a new person doing something. Okay, including speaking. So zero crept towards Stanley. I know how to escape, he muttered. He checked over his shoulder, I should say there, shouldn't I? He checked over his shoulder. Let's put that in. He checked over his shoulder. Stanley looked up from his digging. What now? His eyes flicked towards Mr. Sir. I've put a full stop at the end. Good. Follow me, Zero cautiously muttered. This way! Stanley saw. Now, actually, do I want muttered? Now, I might actually say completely different feel now to my story. I'm not going to have cautiously muttered. I'm going to say Zero called out. Bit of tension now, because now he's actually shouted it. So Mr. Sir's going to hear him. Follow me, Zero called out. This way. Stanley saw Mr. Sir's head spin in their direction. Okay, quick, run. Okay, so all I got, that little picture there, and I've got that speech, and that's part of my story. If I carried on with Stanley then climbing out of the hole and running, following Zero, I would then carry on in this paragraph. Okay, I'd only start a new line if I wanted Zero, or Mr. Sir, in fact. I could even maybe say start a completely different line and say here, what do you think you're doing, sort of thing, and it's a completely different person now. What do you think you're doing, blah 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 blah, and it's a completely different person, a completely different line. That's Mr. Sir. Or I could carry on with Zero on a different line as well. The only time I'd stay in this paragraph is if I want Stanley to carry on moving or speaking. Okay, so have a quick play around with those drawings that you might have drawn for your trailer yesterday. Use that if you want to, like I've done, or we'll post a few pictures along with this video as well for you to have a play around using speech ready for your stories with Mrs. O'Riordan on Thursday and Friday. Okay, see you later.